who saw him with Virginia Giuffre grinding away on the island. He kind of ordered her from the catalogue.
That was Andrew Lownie sitting down with Andrew Gold to discuss his biography of Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. I like Gold. He's done some very good work, but his idea of heretics, well, no. A lot of things he calls heresy are not really heresies at all. They're just being suppressed by the media or ignored by the media. Also, for all his talk about getting to the heart of the matter, there are certain subjects that he won't, how can I put it, he peddles the same guff about Jimmy Savile as the media, and so many people have been taken in by it. And Virginia Giuffre, the now late Virginia Giuffre. I'm not interested in Andrew's financial affairs or his faithless wife turned faithful ex-wife. I'm really interested in the Virginia stuff, because there's the lies that are still being peddled. And when I say lies, I mean easily refuted lies by the media and by people who should know better. Easily refuted lies. Most of them are based on semantics, manipulation of language, and just ignoring stuff. So here we go.
I understand that there were girls 12 and 14. From what we know of Bill Clinton, it's perhaps not surprising that he might come under the spotlight.
That was a reference to Jeffrey Epstein's island, his main island, Little St James, which he called Little St Jeff's. An enormous mythology has grown up about that island, but he had staff there and invited a lot of famous, influential and interesting people there. What everyone thinks about Epstein's sexual habits and how he acquired his wealth, he was very generous. He was a big Democrats supporter, funder. I'm not sure that reflects so well on him, but he funded all sorts of things, including research, and he appears to have had a genuine interest in science. And when you're that wealthy, people come to you. As I said, all sorts of people visited the island, including Bill Clinton. There's innuendo there that Bill Clinton was, in view of his age, a serial rapist. That is absolute garbage. The reality is that men like Clinton don't chase women, women chase them. There was quite a disgusting affair with Monica Lewinsky in the White House. There was no suggestion that was anything but voluntary, consensual, disgusting all the same. Lots of other women have made allegations against him, most notably Juanita Broaddrick, who is seriously not right in the head. People have been taken in by her. Jeanette Pirro has been taken in by Broaddrick. The reality is, I say, that Clinton was sort of man that women chase. Okay, let's continue.
My friend, our friend, I think, Sean Atwood, I don't know if
yes,
you know
absolutely,
Sean.
yeah.
He's quite into the idea that Bill Clinton is very guilty in all of those things.
Well, Clinton's name certainly came up a lot.
Clinton's name came up a lot, and Gold refers to Sean Atwood. Atwood is a prize grifter. He's an Englishman. He went to the United States to make his fortune, and unfortunately, a lot of that fortune concerned dealing in drugs. He claims to have been the biggest drug dealer in Arizona, and to have been sent, looking at a very heavy sentence in Arizona. He spent 6 years behind bars. Normally, people with criminal convictions play them down, but some play them up. And I don't think Atwood was that big a drug dealer as he makes out he's had the world to believe. He publishes all sorts of crap. He does some very good stuff, don't get me wrong, but he's a lot of the stuff is speculative, scurrilous, and has all sorts of cranks on his channel. I'll give you a personal anecdote here. On April 25th at 2047, he phoned me. He was in his car, and he said he wanted me to appear on his podcast next Monday at Guildford to discuss Jimmy Savile, and he wanted to bring on somebody to oppose me. He suggested John Wedger. I emailed him some material, and after that I never heard anything. He's also pushed the Elm guest house rubbish, all sorts of rubbish, which is easily debunked. I mean, if you know what happened with the grooming gang, rape gang cover up, it's easy to believe this sort of thing because that was absolutely outrageous. I still find it hardly believable that this went on and on such a massive scale. But there are limits to what you should believe, especially when things are being thoroughly reviewed. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have been on the receiving end of police and the deep state. I know what it looks like. I know what it's like when you have 4 or 5 police officers lying in unison, and you're the only one telling the truth. I know what it's like. It was five. It was 1 police officer in my case, but there were 4 others in the room at the time. I won't go any further than that, but I know what they're like, right? I know how these things operate. If you don't know how they operate, take a look at some videos of police behaving badly. I've uploaded 50 to BitChute. You'll see the way that they lie, the way officials lie. We see the way that our own Prime Minister lies, Starmer, and they cover these things up most of the time. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean we should believe any old rubbish, and Atwood and at times Gold will believe any old rubbish. Let's continue.
I have a story in the book which is sourced to 3 different people named about Andrew on a taxpayer-funded trip to Thailand, where he had 40 prostitutes sent into him over a 4-day period, and
that's not something you could put, because you'd be getting killed by his team, wouldn't you? I mean, that's got to be right.
It's a diplomat, it's a journalist, it's a member of the Thai aristocracy who've given me the story. No, there's been no response from him. But what's interesting is after that came out, various people, particularly Tom Sykes at the Daily Beast, said, actually, I've heard these stories for years. And he wrote a story using his own sources, which were separate from mine, to talk about, what Andrew used to get up to in Thailand, which he used to visit quite a lot. So, I mean, people knew about these stories, but were scared to report them.
I have to stress I'm not going to cover the entire interview. That is slightly out of sequence because I want to make a point. Andrew went to Thailand and he had 40 prostitutes in 4 days. I've had this from 3 different sources, and somebody else had it from his own sources. Yeah. I mean, yes, wealthy men do use prostitutes for some strange reason. But 40 prostitutes in 4 days. I would have thought, especially Thailand, that would have put him at risk of some, please excuse the creaky table, it's a perennial problem. I would have thought that would have put him at risk from some exotic disease, if not HIV or something, or hepatitis. Where are the photographs? Is there even one photograph? If Andrew had 40 prostitutes. Isn't a photograph with just one of them? Not one? No. There is one photograph in this story. One photograph. And here it is. The first photograph is the infamous one. The second one shows a slightly older Virginia Giuffre holding up a photograph of her younger self. This was me before I was ruined. Seriously? What does that photograph prove? There are some people, including two titled ladies, who say it is not genuine, that it is a forgery. I'm assuming it's genuine. When I say some people, I mean specifically, but not only, Lady Victoria Harvey and Lady Campbell. Lady Colin Campbell is a royal insider par excellence. She was the first person to announce the death of the Queen. She did it on a YouTube channel. Lady Victoria Harvey, I do not for one moment doubt her integrity or her veracity. I think she may have been misled. But if that photograph isn't genuine, the world and his dog owes a big apology to Prince Andrew. But assuming it's genuine, what does it prove? What do you see there? You see a 17-year-old teenager having fun. Look, I met a prince. And she actually said in her first interview with the Mail on Sunday that she had that photograph taken from my mom. That's right. And there was no suggestion in that interview that she had sex with Andrew. It was only years later that she claimed to have had sex with him. And I was sexually abused by members of the royal family. I was trafficked. No, you weren't trafficked. You came to England at the age of 17 with Jeffrey Epstein and parental approval. 17 is above the age of consent here. And if you did have sex with Andrew, I don't believe she did have sex with him. Let me say that. But if you did have sex with Andrew, so what? I'm 4 years older than Andrew, and if I had been in a situation where I could have had sex with a 17-year-old, an attractive 17-year-old, I may well have done. Not if I thought she was a prostitute, not if I knew she was a prostitute, like you, Virginia, you chiseling little whore. So that's the photograph. There are no photographs of Andrew with Thai prostitutes for the obvious reason.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that the Met supposedly investigated Andrew 3 times for sex trafficking. I mean, the offence happened here. It was reported by Virginia Giuffre. People like Di Davis, the former head of Royal Security, has been pushing for this. He says that if Andrew is innocent, then let him prove it. And in each time, the Met said there was nothing to see here. I've written a series of FOIs to the Met about their investigations, which they've refused to answer, neither confirm nor deny.
If Andrew is innocent, let him prove it. Okay, let's look at Virginia's fantasy autobiography, The Billionaires Playboy Club. You can download this on Document Cloud. She describes how they went to Tramp, a nightclub, which has an age limit of 18. Andrew went with his guards, his bodyguards, escort, whatever. And then they went back to the townhouse, Ghislaine's townhouse. We all chatted in the hall for a few minutes, and I was able to have Jeffrey snap a photo of us together, one that would cause much controversy for the Buckingham Palace in many years to come. Yeah, controversy, thanks to whom? The conversation didn't linger on much longer before Jeffrey and Ghislaine dispersed downstairs together. Leaving me to my own sort of raw duties, they walked away giddy as if they were teenagers imposing on young lovers about to embark on a romantic evening. Next to the study was the bathroom, where I led him to next. The room was dimly lit, masking the light from showing the disparity in my eyes. Disparity in my eyes? It was a beige marble-tiled floor with porcelain Victorian-style bathtub in the middle of the room and nowhere near the size of Jeffrey's residences. I turned on the taps of the tub and the heat from the water began to steam up the small room. I mean, people, in particular Lady Victoria Harvey, have said that the bath wasn't big enough for them to do what she claimed. They get in the bath together, so she says. He was adorning my young body, particularly my feet, caressing my toes and licking my arches. That was definitely a first for me. Yeah, well, that may have been inspired by this notorious incident. That was Sarah Ferguson with her lover. Absolutely scandalous. So maybe that's where that came from. There's nothing here about her being raped or being forced to have sex with Andrew. And then she says, I was paid extremely well this time, putting my money earned into nothing but popping pills and alcohol by shouting my so-called This is poorly written. I was paid extremely well this time, putting my money earned into nothing but popping pills and alcohol by shouting my so-called friends to a good time, aiming for the attempt to forget about my experiences abroad. I mean, not very well written, but where's the rape? Where's the sexual abuse? Leaving aside this encounter here is almost certainly fantasy. And she reported Andrew, and the Met did nothing. What are they going to do? If you're viewing this on your mobile phone, you may not see the text, the full text. This is from the BBC website for November 15th, 2019. Head teacher Matthew Applin sacked over teen sex, given £700,000. A primary school head teacher sacked after having sex with two 17-year-old boys has been awarded nearly £700,000 in compensation. Matthew Applin, who was the head of Tywin Primary School in Sandfields, Port Talbot, had sex with the two teenagers he met on a gay dating app in August 2015. How sick is that? According to Virginia, Andrew had sex with her and she was paid for the privilege. That makes her a prostitute, even if Andrew didn't know it, if they had sex. If you had a daughter and a son, which would you rather? The daughter had sex with a prince, or the son had sex with some perverted fag teacher? Disgusting.
The whole thing, it stinks, frankly. And I think everyone can see that.
If something stinks, you smell it, not see it, you retard. How did it stink? What crime did Andrew commit? Okay, he may have broken royal protocol, but what crime did he commit? And what should be ashamed of? Should any 44-year-old man who has consensual sex with a teenager be ashamed? Might be something to write home about, mightn't it? To boast about.
Even with my book, we clearly had to be very careful what we put in there. I think there were about 20 pages that were taken out by the lawyers. A lot of stuff was changed. I was amazed how much they did allow, actually, because it's not just libel, it's things like privacy.
Yes.
Even a prince, is allowed to have a private sex life.
That says it all. Even a prince is allowed to have a private sex life. So why don't you take your proboscis out of this man's private sex life? Why not? I mean, you've refuted your own thesis, basically.
There have been a lot of very strange deaths in this story. Quite apart from Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel died in prison. One of the people who actually talked about the sale of Sunninghill, the son-in-law of the ruler of Kazakhstan, died in prison in very mysterious circumstances. Steve Hoffenberg, who was the man who did the Ponzi scheme with Epstein and went to prison for 18 years. I know that when he learnt that Epstein had died, he absolutely was paranoid. He was in hospital in New England. He said, "I don't want anyone bringing an injection anywhere near me. I want to have security." And Steve Hoffenberg was found dead in very mysterious circumstances.
This sounds a bit like the Clinton death list. Mysterious circumstances. Okay, let's look at the Wikipedia entry for Steve Hoffenberg, which might just be accurate. You can't believe everything you read on Wikipedia, and that's one of Andrew Gold's better interviews. But this is, Hoffenberg was found dead at his apartment in Derby, Connecticut on August the 23rd, 2022, at the age of 77. His body was in an advanced state of decomposition, and a Derby police officer estimated that he had been dead for roughly a week by the time his remains were found. Obviously not a man in high demand. An initial autopsy found no evidence of trauma on his body, and police said they believe he died of natural causes. He had tested positive for COVID-19 not long before his death. Mysterious. Very mysterious, isn't it? Idiot.
But this is a woman who's very tough. I mean, she'd stood up really against some very powerful people and spoken truth.
Sweet Virginia may well have been very tough, but she was a serial liar. She didn't stand up to powerful people. She was manipulated willingly by powerful people. Firstly Epstein, and then by these corrupt lawyers who I will not name, but one in particular, who funded her action against Andrew. She received £160,000 for her story, her non-story, from the Daily Mail, Sunday Mail, that group of papers. How much did her action against Andrew cost? And then there was the lawsuit she brought against Alan Dershowitz, and she backed out of that. And why did she back out of it? Because in a lawsuit, there's something called discovery. She made all these allegations against him. When it came time to exchange documents, she had absolutely nothing to show that she even met Dershowitz. And she said she may or might or perhaps got him confused with someone else. And Dershowitz, before he called her over, locked up for libel, for lying in legal proceedings. For some strange reason, he became extremely magnanimous and accepted her retraction. But she lied about Dershowitz. She lied about other people as well, and no doubt she lied about Andrew. And tough. And now she's dead at 41. Ain't karma a bitch?
Just okay.
I think probably.
Okay, yeah, and is it plausible that some of the victims, and I'm now talking maybe about underage, were shared by Andrew and Epstein?
I found no evidence that Andrew was involved with young girls. One of the people who's quoted in the book is Deborah Gale, who was the housekeeper in Palm Beach. Other members of staff were quoted in the book. You don't know what the age of the girls were. No one else has come forward. You've got to remember, a lot of these women are now in their middle age. They're married with children. The last thing they want is any more attention. They signed NDAs. They're pretty frightened. They were paid off. They just want this thing to go away. So you're not really going to get many people speaking out, even off the record.
Wow, honesty. He's found no evidence that Andrew had any interest in young girls. And that includes young girls, meaning under the age of consent. 17-year-old, well, let's assume he did have sex with her. Let's assume he did have sex with her. Case closed. And the others, they were paid off, signed NDAs, yeah. A lot of these girls, they went to Epstein. They were paid £200 to give him massages, and they went back again and again and again. And after his death, they came for more money, a lot more. Should we feel sorry for them? Call them victims if you like. I prefer to compare them with the real victims of the grooming gangs who were, I mean, horrendous stuff. Nothing like that happened to any of them at the hands of Epstein. Call them victims, but don't call them survivors.
The ones that I've certainly come across are women in their early 20s.
Okay.
Early 20s up.
Well, Virginia was, what was she?
Well, she was 17.
Okay.
But, I mean, that's the only one that I'm aware of. And, of course, that's not a criminal offence to have sex with a girl of 17 in this country.
He says it again. It's not a criminal offence to have sex with a girl of 17 in this country. Yeah. Case closed again.
But he would have known that regardless she was potentially trafficked.
Oh, yes. I think the inference from people I've talked to is she was brought across for him.
But he had to spoil it. She was brought across for him. Trafficked. I went shopping Friday. I got a bus from the supermarket to the bottom of Vanna Road. I was trafficked. I went to the British Library last week. I got a train there, 2 trains. I was trafficked. You don't realise how stupid you sound, but does the media call this sort of thing out? No, they've thrown it. Prince Andrew not guilty. Case closed. I will finish this takedown with someone who's read Lownie's book. I haven't, and I've no intention of reading it. Jacob Rees-Mogg has. Here's what he thinks of it, and he tells Lownie to his face. Have fun, and I will see you on my YouTube channel and on the Full Sweep Timeline channel. I'll be adding this to my main channel. Hopefully I won't get another strike for it. Prince Andrew not guilty. Andrew Lownie, well, you have to make up your own mind. I've already made up mine.
Some might think the book is quite salacious. You've got quite a lot of sex and innuendo there. But you start very early on by talking about an affair of Prince Philip with Susan Barantes. What evidence do you have for that?
My mother-in-law, who was a friend of hers.
OK, but it's gossip, isn't it? Because
they were friends.
You've got another story at the end where you say on Prince Philip that Cabina Baudet-Wellman, whose mother was supposedly one of Prince Philip's lovers. What evidence have you got for that?
That's been reported in the press.
But this is my worry, that it's quite a gossipy book.
It's not a gossipy book. It's actually got about 30 pages of footnotes, if you look at them.
I looked at the footnotes. Yeah. I thought you might mention that, because when you look at the footnotes, what is it? It's the newspapers. It's the Times.
No, it's a series of interviews with people
as
well as the
Times, 21st December 2024. It's Amid Scobie, who supports one other part of the royal family.
I don't think this is very fair. I think if you look at it, you'll see
the Daily Mail. It's
if you look at the
Daily Telegraph.
Well, if you allow me to answer, if you look at the acknowledgements page, you'll see. If you allow me to speak,
I will.
If you look at the acknowledgements page,
but you just said something that is demonstrably not true in your footnotes. In your footnotes,
it's not
again and again, it is newspaper reporting that you're quoting.
I'm not. If you look at the acknowledgements page, you will see that there are 3 pages of people that are interviewed.
Yes. So
can we look at the acknowledgements page?
Well, why don't we look at your footnotes?
Are you out here just to hijack the book?
No, I'm here to ask you about it and your sources and the accuracy. So Finding Sarah, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, New York Times, Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, extracts which can be seen online. So yes, you've got some interviews, but you say in the beginning you asked 3,000 people to be interviewed.
Yes.
Of whom 300 agreed.
Yes.
So that's not very many.
I think you'll find that's pretty good for a royal book. You don't get 300 interviews for a royal book.
And what about this, talking of gossip? So you've got a story here on Prince Andrew getting an escort to Canary Wharf from Buckingham Palace. The comedian Katie Brand has a story from a friend.
Yeah.
Is that a good source? Is that a good historian source?
Well, that's sometimes all we have.
But that's my point. You've got salacious gossip
Well, I don't think that's salacious gossip.
Starting with an
Most of this
unfounded
book-
allegation
No.
against Prince Philip.
Well, let me answer. It's not an unfounded allegation. I
You've
mean,
got no evidence for it.
I have.
Prove it.
Well-
Have you got an affidavit saying this?
Well, you're not going to get affidavits saying these things in these sort of books.
Would you have written
But
it when he
also-
was alive and could have sued you for libel?
Well, I wasn't writing the book when he was alive. I wrote
Would you
the
have
book
written it
after
when he was
died.
alive and could have
That's
sued you for
a
libel?
ridiculous question.
It's a fundamental question.
No, it's not. I
Because
started
you're
this
saying
book-
things that really sleazy allegations.
They're not
against
sleazy
the late
allegations.
Queen's
Most of this book
husband,
is about
for which you
financial
have no
corruption in the
evidence.
royal family. That's what the book's about.
Well, it's about an awful lot more than that.
But
It's
if
a
you
sort of-
actually read it...
I've read it.
well, I'm a very quick reader in one day.
Yeah,
You'll
I
see
am.
that there's an awful lot there. It's about his role as special representative.
It's-
People are on the
But isn't
record,
it-
diplomats, people in the Foreign Office, people in the Navy. I
And
stand
on
by it.
the diplomacy, you're fair, actually, because there are quite a lot of mixed views about his behaviour.
Yes,
But
well,
you've also
it's
got...
not salacious.
well, there's a lot of salacious stuff in it, including, as I say, about Prince Philip. But you've got this one. You really went for everything you could. One ambassador's wife was upset after the prince criticised the way she decorated the residence. Another chased him after he left without thanking her. Are these diplomats such complete wet wipes that they get so upset? Or were you just trying
No,
to use every interview,
started-
anonymous sources, to hack at...
They're not anonymous sources. I mean, a lot of these people were named. A lot of them clearly want to go off the record. I can't force them to go on the record. These were stories I was given when I interviewed them.
OK, mainly anonymous. Let me ask you one final
Not
thing.
mainly anonymous. I mean, many of them were named.
How much does a side of beef weigh?
Well, I agree that does seem slightly
It's
odd.
about 200 weight. Do you really think
That was-
Sarah Ferguson had 200 weight of beef on her sideboard
Well,
every night?
You're cherry picking bits. You know, we all know from
I
the
read the
reviews.
book.